Welcome to Luigi's Gaming Lounge. This is Luigi Mario, and we are on episode 22. Today, I am joined by Trip Hazard, aka
Barnaby. Hello.
And we are also joined by Terrors, aka
Hello.
Hello. So this last week has actually been fairly slow for the gaming industry and gaming news. However, this evening there is a Nintendo Direct. Sam, I'm sure you've seen that. Have you?
I actually, I was meant to watch it.
Yeah, it's at 11 p.m. It's not until 11 p.m.
Oh, right. Oh, okay. I did see it come up on my reminders thing, and I couldn't remember if it was on last night or tonight. But yeah,
tonight.
Well, I will be tuning in then.
Yeah. So, but other than that, there's not really been much else to talk about. Today's subject, however, we are going to talk about exclusives and exclusivity, because, for example, recently PlayStation have released certain exclusive games, or that were exclusive to PlayStation on PC. For example, Days Gone being one of them. And in the future, they are looking to put their other exclusives out onto PC, but not tying in with the PlayStation 5 release. It could be like the year after. So yeah, I just wanted to discuss this really because with everything going on, there's also talk of, Xbox making another really big acquisition. Last year we had them buying Bethesda, and there's talk of it could be Ubisoft, it could be Rockstar. The other one is CD Projekt Red. I mean, I just want to get some thoughts really. Good and bad. There's good and bad points, I think, for exclusives. Barney, do you want to sort of have your little say on what you feel? Yeah. Go ahead.
I'll go for it. Yeah. So exclusives. There's two sides to that coin, really. In a way, it's nice that developers will have their own kind of unique image, and I think Nintendo is especially strong in this area.
Yeah.
And I've kind of touched on that in previous episodes because Nintendo has a very distinct style when it comes to their own first-party titles.
Yep.
And neither Xbox nor PlayStation, I think, can match that for uniqueness.
Mm-hmm.
So it can give one format an edge in terms of distinctness and uniqueness. And one of the criteria I would use for picking which console out of each generation is the list of exclusive-only titles, because that can make a difference. However, on the flip side, it is also really annoying as well because, taking the example of television streaming services, for example, it would be ridiculous that Netflix would only work with some types of TVs, for example, or Disney Plus worked on, say, Samsung TVs, but didn't work on Sony TVs.
Yeah.
So why should we stand for it as gamers when TV watchers and moviegoers don't?
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, the thing is, I was reading an article earlier. I can't remember where I saw it, but it was just basically explaining that. If exclusivity wasn't a thing, just how many more copies of these games could get out there to people, and
that is a good point.
Potentially keep that particular IP alive. Because,
that's true.
And that's like a massive plus, obviously.
Yeah, because you're not thinking about sales figures from one format, you're thinking of sales figures from all three mainstream consoles plus PC as well.
Exactly.
Yeah,
but there are quadrupling your sales.
Yeah.
But there are games that are on all platforms, so obviously and maybe there are games that were originally on, say, one platform or two, but have over the years. I'm sure the Sonic franchise is a good example. That's like kind of spread itself out across most platforms now, and and also it would be interesting, obviously, to see the numbers there. I'm pretty sure, that's what's probably kept Sonic alive in a lot of ways. Them diversifying over to all these platforms and being able to sell multiple copies of the same game but on different consoles or PC or whatever.
Yeah.
But another thing to sort of touch on as well, when in regards to all these having all these developers effectively producing games for all platforms. Do you not think that in some ways we might see I mean, it could work either way, but maybe not as far as quality goes and output goes for the games. Do you not think there could be a drop off from that point, because obviously people are competing like on their own platform to bring out their own like top tier exclusive games? Did you know what I mean? Like,
no,
so
I get
with Xbox had like Halo, didn't it? Like, and especially their original, like their early day ones. I mean, they were unbelievably good, especially for the time, and even so now they hold up pretty well. But
it's you bringing up Halo, I was actually thinking about this earlier and thinking how, like you say, the early ones, I'd say 1, 2, and 3 were really good. 4, half and half, and 5 was just not worth your time. Personally, I really do feel that Halo Infinite, the one that's being released in December, I believe it is, I feel like it's taken them, I think it's about 6 years to get this to us, and this feels like they've got to get this one right for Halo to survive, if that makes sense.
Do you know what I think the issue is though with games like Halo is, you got to remember, back when Halo was first out, what other games were around that were like Halo or on that kind of scale or in terms of like graphics? There wasn't really that much to compare it to in terms of what it was. So obviously it was awesome because it was like a new experience.
Well, back when the original Halo came out, majority of first-person shooters were PC only, really.
Especially with multiplayer, because they brought in multiplayer, online multiplayer with Halo 2.
Yeah, Halo 2.
That was like that was a massive game changer for console players.
Yeah.
And then you got to think, as the years went on, not only were there new developers or like other game for FPSs that were coming on board, and sort of up in the game. Halo had already done their first like couple of games that were like really, really good. So it was very difficult for them to continue the trend, especially when you had all these other new players coming into the scene. Like, and not even just new players, but like, I mean, if you go back and look at Battlefield, like Battlefield was brilliant like in its PC days, but console, it took ages really before a decent console release like started getting out there. I mean, Bad Company 2 was probably the first half decent console version of it. So and by that point, Halo 1, 2, and I believe even 3 probably had already been out. So when you start getting into sort of Halo 4 and 5 territory, you got to remember we've been playing other games. There's been other developers to the table, like. And it's a bit rinse and repeaty, so you kind of like psychologically feel that the game isn't as good, but it's probably still a really good game. Do you know what I mean? If that game had dropped,
it just doesn't feel as fresh.
Well, I don't know.
When the original Halo came out, it was pushing the envelope, and everyone was like, "Wow, look at this! This is the next big."
Yeah, exactly.
This is the Xbox.
Maybe the innovation just dropped off.
I think if you look into it, I believe. I'm not sure about number 3, but obviously I know 1 and 2 was created by Bungie, and then I think, like I said, I think 4 and 5 was 343. Is it 343 games or something like that? But anyway, I think the big sort of niggly thing that people have with that is the storyline. Like the story of 1 and 2. Is really good compared to the later games, and it could even be that they focus so much on the multiplayer that the single player sort of took a back seat. But a lot of people do play Halo for the single player, the campaign. But no, like I say, the whole exclusivity thing, it all has its pros and cons. We got a bit off track there talking about Halo, didn't we? Never mind. It's worthy of...
We always get off track.
We do. It's worthy of a chat.
Yeah, of course.
But, no, I was just sitting here thinking to myself, we all know that you're able to emulate, for example... Nintendo consoles on PC. Even to its latest console, which is obviously the Nintendo Switch, you're able to emulate their games on PC. Now, if Nintendo released a PC version of their games, just digitally, and you could purchase it through the Nintendo website, install it to your system, I can't help but think that that will increase their revenue, because whilst it's not available on PC,
it might increase their revenue, but it could stop them the console sales, because people who have PCs won't need a console, so then they lose all the sales off the consoles.
Yeah, but I mean,
it's true, and Nintendo is one of the few companies that actually makes a profit on the hardware they sell.
Yeah. I suppose they're in that position. Unlike, I think PlayStation and Xbox have notoriously lost money, haven't they, on console sales?
Until later on in development, I think, when they actually managed to cut costs. But yeah, early model releases, the first wave of consoles usually makes a loss. And then later on, after chip costs come down,
I mean,
you get small profit by the end of a console's life.
Well,
you could go with the approach of, as long as you own your console, you put in your console serial number, and you have a Nintendo account, some form of, not streaming, but where you can install the games on a desktop and play them if you own them, or you can purchase them and own them on your Nintendo account.
Yeah, it's almost like a Windows software license.
Kind of, yeah, but I suppose, that's not going to happen. That's just not going to happen.
Yeah, but never say never, because at the end of the day, like I said, the big thing for me with Xbox is the whole play anywhere. I can literally, I can put a game on my phone, on my tablet, on my PC. Anywhere I am, even on my Nvidia Shield TV box, which is basically an Android box.
There's the mention of the Shield again.
There it is.
Mandatory in every episode.
But the Switch is probably, that's like their way of solving that problem without even having to ever go over to that side of things, by saying take the Switch where you want. Like it's portable, it's handheld. Just take it where you want and play it where you want.
Yeah, but you
kind of things is that in some developers' eyes, I think the game is tied to the hardware as well, and none more so than Nintendo.
Yeah, true.
Ever since, I think, probably for almost its entire life, but especially I think since the N64, because it had such a weird controller, and also it was the only console at the time that had 4 controller ports.
Yeah.
So the games that it released were very closely tied to the hardware. And you can easily port them over, especially if it's a 4-player game. And then moving on to things like the Wii and then the Switch.
And the GameCube, because that had all the adapters. Like the Game Boy player would go in the bottom of it.
That is true.
You would get Game Boy. Remember the Game Boy Advance, the link cable that you could, so that you could.
Yeah, that's right. For 4 swords.
Yeah, and that's right. Yeah, 4 swords. And even going back to the N64, the transfer pack where you could put the Game Boy game and play Game Boy game, and you could play.
Pokemon Stadium.
Yeah, that's it. Through Pokemon Stadium, you could play Pokemon like Red, Green, and was it Red, Blue, and Yellow or something? Basically those
basically
original
every
ones.
colour by now.
Yeah. You could play those through on your TV via the transfer pack when playing Pokemon Stadium. So yeah, it's like you're absolutely right. Like it's all tied into.
Whereas with Sony and Microsoft, they're not so. Their games are not so hardware specific.
Yeah, true, very true. I mean, obviously with Xbox, their what's the word I'm looking for? Their own games, their exclusive games are available on console and PC, and obviously with PlayStation making this move of bringing PlayStation games to PC, obviously they're trying to get that piece of the PC action, aren't they? Really. However, like I said, I believe it's roughly around about a year after they'll look to release on PC. I'm guessing that gives them time to port it properly so it runs well on PC. Possibly, I don't really know the ins and outs. But no, for me, I think I honestly do think we may see a day when all games will be available absolutely anywhere and on anything, especially
Definitely.
Especially as we are pushing more and more to the whole streaming side of things.
I think you're right to a degree. I mean,
it may not happen anytime soon, but
I don't know. I don't know if Nintendo will be on that. I just don't think. I don't know. It would be
again. It's going back to what I said earlier. Are you thinking that they're very tied to their hardware?
But
I think PlayStation, Xbox, and all that. I think and PC will all sort of merge into like one at some point. I do believe that. I just don't see Nintendo because their IP. Basically, Nintendo are built up on basically their IP. So,
Sam,
and they're not going to let anyone get near that. Like,
no, I understand, but let's say take this a different route then. Okay, when I'm saying exclusivity, so let's not say take Xbox and PlayStation out of the picture with Nintendo. Right now, just hear me out a moment. How Xbox have got the Game Pass, which is you get streaming included.
Yeah.
Is it out of the realms of possibility that Nintendo, in years to come,
would do that?
Could release solely an app where you pay a subscription direct to Nintendo, so that you can stream a game to an Android device, an Apple device, and play through streaming? I don't think that's out of the realms of possibility.
Depends. I would question that. And would that be Switch games, for example, or would it be more like a lot of Nintendo games you can now get various versions on Android, for example, on smartphone, iOS, or whatever?
I don't think that's out of the realms of possibility. I do think that there could well be something like the Xbox Game Pass on Nintendo, but as far as like interoperability goes, is that right? I think that's the right word, like interoperability, or basically between.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, between Xbox and PlayStation. I just don't see that ever happening, like ever.
No, but that's what I mean. Like, obviously, if you keep it to solely, say, Android, Apple, then you're keeping it away from your direct competitors, but you're still opening it up to, say, for example, somebody who owns an Xbox plus an Android phone, but they don't want to go out and buy a console. They may think, £9.99 a month, $11.99 a month, whatever, and I've got access to X amount of Nintendo games. Do you get my?
Sorry. So what do you mean? What they've got the phone?
Yeah.
And
so, for example,
they don't have the console.
No. So, for example, let's just say I do not have an Xbox in my home at all.
Yeah.
I can still subscribe to Xbox Game Pass or whatever Ultimate, which includes me being able to stream over 100 Xbox games direct to my phone without having an Xbox. The only other thing I may need to purchase is a controller. So, if Nintendo,
I don't see that happening with Nintendo.
Oh, I don't know, because they're very big on their portability, right? Very big on portability. This way, it eradicates the need to create a new portable system. Okay, if they invest in the technology how Xbox has, the Game Pass Ultimate, when you stream to a device, is running off of Series X hardware.
Yeah, Nintendo will want to keep the user close to them, like in terms of whether it's their hardware or whatever it is. They're going to want to keep everything, like Barney was saying, everything's going to be tied in and always going to be close together. And I just feel that rather than say stream it to the phone, I know what Nintendo are like. They'll just be like, we've made this instead, and you can use this. You know what I mean? That's what they'll do. They'll just make something that's Nintendo branded so that you have to use their own thing, because.
Right, so are you saying that possibly they could do the streaming thing, but you would have to purchase their own device to do it?
Yeah, I think
In a way, Nintendo
something.
would benefit the most because in recent years their hardware has been less powerful than its competitors.
Yeah, true.
And they've kind of worked around that. But with streaming, it doesn't really make any difference as long as your device can push the pixels across the screen fast enough, and you have a fast enough internet connection.
See, my argument, I'll just quickly say, is my argument with it also is Nintendo. I understand they have the likes of Mario Kart and Super Smash Bros. For online, but Nintendo is right down on the list of online sort of games.
Without a doubt. They're way behind the times.
Yeah, so... obviously, if you was to stream, you can stream online games to your phone in terms of like play online matches. But Nintendo has such a good library of single player games that, to me, being not a heavy user of Nintendo, to me, I see that as an advantage for them to take it to the streaming market because the majority of their games are single player. So yeah, that's just me. That's what I think. But it may happen, it may not happen. And like you said, Sam, they could even bring something out that which I think you're right. I think you're right.
They've always been very innovative. Sorry. For what they do, and I think that they will come up with something. To basically, like I say, keep you tied in with them, which is it's kind of a good and a bad thing with Nintendo. Like, I think they know their IPs, they know the games that they produce within that genre of type, those types of games. They know that they do produce the best of the best, when it comes to that kind of those genres that they cover mainly with their top title games. And there's always a premium attached to those. Like, so you might get the console slightly cheaper than all the others, but that's because it isn't technically as powerful as all the others, or it probably costs a bit less for them to produce, so they're able to put it on the shelf for a bit less.
Yeah.
But they always get you on the games. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, and even like they never lose any money really. Like any top tier game. So what I'm getting at is when it comes to like you were saying about streaming services or all that kind of stuff. There's no, I reckon that they would come out with something. I don't know what, but you know what Nintendo are like. They just come out with all sorts of crazy stuff. Like they'll come out with something and be like, "You need to have the Nintendo." I don't know, like
Stream
Android.
Boy.
Yeah, literally, like the stream. Yeah, that's literally what it will be. In fact, that's probably the name. Like literally right now, call it. You heard it here first on Luigi's Gaming Lounge from Barney. The Stream Boy, Nintendo Stream Boy will come in, and it'll be the only way you can stream anything to your TV or your phone, and it's going to cost you about £100 and
£100 a month.
It'll only work if you've got the Stream Boy, and that'll be it. Like, and that's what will happen.
I mean, the other thing to I know we're talking about Nintendo a lot here, but the other thing to think about also is materials. In the sense of every time new consoles come out, obviously it's using up materials. It's the parts inside, and switching to a streaming platform, streaming service.
Are you talking about the environment here?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, I thought so. So that's a very, very good point to make, to be fair.
And again, don't get me wrong, I don't think it's going to happen anytime very soon. We're definitely going to see another generation of console, and probably another one after that. But at some point in the future, and I
think you're right.
In our lifetime, for multiple factors, including the effect on the environment, I feel.
I think you're right. I think that will happen as well. It will take some of the magic away from having your console and all that, but I'm sure again there'll be something that replaces it in terms of. I don't know, something.
Yeah, but then I suppose they, in a sense, even though
so basically the net. So because let's be honest, DVDs, all that, they're obsolete. They're gone. No one
Yeah.
has a DVD player. No one has a DVD or a video player. They're all gone. Yeah, obviously there are some people who have them still, but they're pretty much obsolete, right?
Yeah.
So the gaming front eventually will go like that.
Will follow suit, yeah.
It will follow suit, yeah, and you'll end up. I mean, it's kind of going like they're semi gone like that with the digital Xbox. You know what I mean? And the digital PlayStation. Like it's kind of almost like they're creeping their way in with it, but it's probably will happen. But,
it's like I'll just give a little example. The Xbox app on PC, they've now integrated it so that within the app itself, before you used to have to go onto Google or not Google, sorry, you go on Chrome or Firefox, whatever, and you'd have to actually go on the Xbox site and then stream a game through a web browser. That's now been integrated into the Xbox app. So when you click on a game, there's an option to either install the game or stream the game to your system. Now, again, if I'm just playing a game where I'm not bothered about the high frame rates, whatever, I can just click stream instantly, boom, there it is. I haven't got to wait for it to install. And as time goes on and years go on, this sort of service is only going to improve with internet speeds getting much faster. So yeah, I hands down think that's the future. And in terms of, Sam, you said about taking the magic away in regards to consoles.
Yeah, just the experience, not only of just having it there in front of you, but even just like, I mean, I know we order a lot of stuff online now and it gets delivered, but for me, even now, like with my Switch and everything, I went to the shop and got it. Do you know what I mean? And going to a store to pick it up, I feel like it's all part of it. Like, I suppose it's just the age we are and the era we grew up in. But
yeah, but if you think of this also,
I can sympathise with that.
Yeah, well, I'm going to use this. This is probably a very bad example, but this is look at this very lightly when I say this. Now, me and Sam both own a Steam Link box.
Yes.
Right? Now, again, that's sort of old tech as such now. But going forward, looking at like the future and possibly being able to stream, instead of buying a big console with all these different parts in, the Nintendo, PlayStation, Xbox could possibly sell you a device as small as, I'm going to say it, Barney, the Nvidia Shield, where it is just a box.
You've got to get your advertising revenue somewhere.
Yeah. It is just a small box that you plug your Ethernet cable to in, or you connect to Wi-Fi, and you can connect your controllers to, and you have access to the library, Xbox library, PlayStation library, whatever. But what I'm trying to say is there'll be, their own, so they're still creating something, but it's going to be a lot better on the environment, because in comparison, a tiny box compared to, look at the size of the beast that is the PS5. So yeah. I think they could still do it in such a way that they're able to release hardware, but it will be it wouldn't be as big.
I see where you're coming from. But I think to that, if they're going in that direction, then they might as well get rid of the hardware entirely.
Yeah, well, they may do.
Or whatever.
They may do. I mean, before long, we are very soon going to see TVs with the Xbox Game Pass app built into the TV. And again, if they go down that route, let's just say they totally get rid of the hardware in terms of the actual console, then they can look into, what type of controllers that consumers can purchase to play. Again, between Nintendo, PlayStation, Xbox, all of their controllers differ. So, I think as a business, they'll always find a way to get your money, won't they? The latest this, the latest that. It's just
probably they're going to make more money off streaming than they would do off hardware anyway. So,
well, exactly. So yeah, I would like. I think once the once the advances are there with the internet and so on, I think that's a very good way to go. And possibly at that point, that's when maybe exclusivity may not be a thing. You know, maybe.
Well, I think I'll be looking forward to that day. I think on balance for me.
Yeah. It's I'd say, like I said, it's a little way off, but one day. But I'm also just gonna squeeze in here. Anybody listening that would like to contact us at Luigi's Gaming Lounge, you can do so by emailing us at luigisgaminglounge@gmail.com. That's luigisgaminglounge@gmail.com. Anything you'd like to say, any questions, send it over. Right, guys, I think we're going to get that wrapped up there. We spoke a lot about Nintendo.
You did say it was about exclusive games, and
I know, and they're
Nintendo
sort of
are the exclusivity kings.
They're, I was going to say they are the masters, aren't they? But yeah, no, I get all your points. There's good and bad, I think. Oh, one thing just before we end that I would like to say.
Plus, sorry to interrupt you. Plus,
Yeah.
I'm in the stream, which when I'm here, Nintendo kind of comes in
Without a
automatically.
doubt.
It's a bit like you and your Shield, and
It becomes Sam's Nintendo Lounge.
Hey Barney, you'll get to have a look at my Nvidia Shield when you come round, and
yes,
have a little
that'd be
play.
good. The gaming lounge meetup is going to be good. We should even do maybe a small little, even if it's just a few minutes.
We'll do a mini episode, shall we, that night?
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, it might be an option, but we'll see. We may have had too many beers by then, so it probably won't be a good idea.
Oh, brilliant. But one last thing I will say, the good thing about exclusivity, as shown by Nintendo, is I think Barney, I think you possibly mentioned it, or was it Sam?
Mm-hmm.
No, I think Sam mentioned it, that basically the exclusivity, it pushes those developers to do well and compete. Like I think having competition is a healthy thing in any sort of aspect of business. So that's I think now I've had time to sort of process it. I think that is a big worry, I'd say, if things sort of didn't become.
It could, but looking at it another way, it also wouldn't. For example, if you had both Crash Bandicoot and Mario on the same system, they'd still be in competition with each other, just like we have GTA and Saints Row in competition with each other.
Actually, yeah. Do you know what? I'm bouncing from opinion to opinion here.
Roller coaster of emotions.
It is a massive roller coaster of emotions. But yeah, anyway, we'll get this wrapped up now. So, episode 22. Can you believe it? In the actual fact, Barney, you asked about other episodes, as we've done minis. Mm-hmm. So this will actually be number 26 in total.
Nice, nearly at 30.
Nearly. But no, thank you very much, guys, for joining me this evening, and thank you all for listening also. And one last time, you can hit us up at luigisgaminglounge@gmail.com, luigisgaminglounge@gmail.com. Peace out, guys. Bye.
See you later.
See ya.